Hello, I'm Engineer Jeremy Bell with Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, and today's task tip is on air conservation during an SCBA emergency where you're trying to conserve air because your revivaler has gone off unexpectedly. The steps that you take can mean the difference between escaping that situation or not. Remember that time versus air equals survival. In Don Abbott's research, Project Mayday, air problems are the fourth leading cause of maydays in the U.S. Fire Service. It is closely behind becoming lost or disoriented, falling through a roof, and falling through a basement. It is also important to note that air problems are created by the first three issues in a mayday situation. The steps that you take in order to deal with that air problem will be the difference between your survival and not. The three factors that influence breath control are how fast or slow you breathe, how deep or shallow you breathe, and how abrupt or smooth you breathe. The breathing techniques that we're going to be highlighting today and demonstrating are skip breathing, tactical breathing, the Riley breathing technique, and finally wheel breathing. By using one or a combination of these breathing techniques may just be enough to help you conserve air just long enough to escape the ideal H environment. Okay, so we have firefighter Cole Stevenson here, and he's going to demonstrate the breathing techniques that I just described. And those breathing techniques, again, are skip breathing, tactical breathing, and the Riley breathing technique. We'll be showing the wheel breathing here momentarily. When we talk about breathing techniques, it's important to understand that not every breathing technique is going to work for every firefighter. And at times, you're going to have a combination of breathing techniques to be able to control the air essentially that you're trying to breathe. When you're working and your labor effort is up, sometimes it's very difficult to engage these breathing techniques. But if you train and you get disciplined, for sure, at least with one technique, it will allow you to engage that process when you are amped up, you're stressed, and you're working hard. And eventually your system, if you are trained, will overtake the difficulty that you're having breathing essentially. So the first technique that we're going to go over here is skip breathing. So with firefighter Stevenson, what he's going to do with skip breathing is he's going to be doing a standard skip breathing method. So he's going to inhale through his nose, and then when he feels like he needs to breathe again, he's going to inhale again, and then he's going to have one exhale. So it's going to be inhale, inhale, exhale. Go ahead, Cole. Okay, good job. Now with the skip breathing, it has been found and shown within studies to start building up carbon dioxide within the bloodstream. And there's another technique later that we're going to show you, the Riley breathing technique, that will hopefully overcome that. But if skip breathing is what you're comfortable with and you feel like it allows you to conserve air for an extended period of time, please don't get away from that. Continue to do that. One way that you can continue to skip breathe and hopefully reverse those effects a little bit with the carbon dioxide buildup is what's known as a reverse skip breathe. And what that is it's one long inhale and then it's two shorter exhales. And the thought behind that is that you're burning off more carbon dioxide in the exhale than you're building up in the inhale by doing the reverse skip. So again, it's going to be one inhale and then an exhale and then another exhale, and that's the entire breathing cycle. Go ahead, Cole. Okay, good job. The next breathing technique that we're going to be talking about is tactical breathing. Now, tactical breathing has a very specific place, and most of the time, if you're going to be engaging tactical breathing, it does help with air conservation. But the big component of tactical breathing is it allows you to calm down. The whole point of that is to reduce the stress that you're feeling and disengage that fight or flight that you may be in a firefighter emergency. The military uses this for their Navy SEALs as well as their snipers to control their breathing between shot counts so that they really can be as calm as possible and reduce any stress that they're feeling. So the recommendation is to use this in a situation where you need to calm yourself down, whether you're reorientating, trying to get your situational awareness, even if you're en route to a call and you feel like your system's amped up, you're breathing heavily. By doing tactical breathing, it allows your heart rate to slow down and it allows your respiration rate to essentially slow down. So with tactical breathing, it's based on 4 counts. So you're going to inhale for a count of 4, then you're going to hold your breath for a count of 4, then you're going to exhale for a count of 4 and hold your breath for a count of 4. Again, the whole purpose of this is to try to calm your system down, slow your heart rate and your respiration rate as much as possible. Go ahead, Cole. Okay, very good. The next technique that we're going to be talking about is more of a modern breathing technique, and it's been around since about 2008, but we still consider it modern because it's way more modern than skip breathing, and it's what's known as the Riley breathing technique, and it was created by Battalion Chief Riley out of New Jersey. And essentially this breathing technique has been shown through studies to decrease the buildup of carbon dioxide in your system, and it allows you to get control of your breathing in a more structured way, and it also extends out your breath cycles for longer periods of time. The average breath cycle when you are labored is between 4 to 6 seconds. If you think about how long our cylinders last, 4 to 6 seconds isn't really that much time to get through an entire breath cycle if you're worked up. By doing the Riley breathing technique, it allows to extend out your breathing period for an additional 6 seconds. So if we look at the top line of a 6 second for normal, by doing this method, you can extend out your breathing technique to almost 12 seconds, which will really extend out the air conservation that you're looking for. And with this, the Riley breathing technique is also what's known maybe to some as the humming technique. And with that, what you're doing is you're inhaling through your nose, and then on your exhale, you're humming out that exhale as long as you can. And then you're continuing to repeat that cycle. What that is shown again to do is it does slow your heart rate, it starts to control your breathing, and it has had some great benefits in calming firefighters down in stressful situations. Go ahead, Cole. Okay, good job. One thing to really note there, and it's kind of hard to tell with what Cole is doing, but with that technique, you're extending that hum as long as it feels comfortable. You're not doing it to the point to where you feel like you're having to take another breath. You don't want to overexert your system, but you kind of get a feeling when you create that hum and that exhalation is occurring, you get to a point to where it's fluid and it makes sense, and you don't feel like you're really grasping to breathe. You just have to get a comfort with it. So the next technique that we're going to discuss is the wheel breathing technique. This is done for a very specific reason, and that is when the firefighter is in a low air situation and they've decided that they are no longer going to continue to try to move to escape the IDLH environment. They have decided that they're going to seek an area of refuge, whether that's in a room, behind a closed door, up against a wall where they can be found by a RIT crew, in order to calm down and conserve as much air as possible and wait for those teams to arrive. It's also important to note with any of the breathing techniques that we've done, as well as the one we're about to show you, that we initiate the Mayday and go through whatever your department policy acronym is for escaping that situation. So whether you're going through your LUNAR, your escape acronym, whatever that acronym is, you're going to want to do that and make sure that you've initiated that Mayday before you start any of these breathing techniques so that help can continue to come. So with the wheel breathing technique, we have our firefighter here, and he has decided that he's going to go ahead and seek an area of refuge and try to make his air last as long as he can. So we're going to have Cole demonstrate this process, and I'm going to explain it as he goes. So we have a firefighter that is in an air situation, and he's decided that he is no longer going to continue to move, and he is going to stop in place and try to conserve air as long as possible. He's going to be doing what's known as wheel breathing. So with wheel breathing, what Cole's going to do here is he's going to seek that area of refuge. He's going to lean up against the wall. You can do this one of two ways. If conditions warrant and you can sit up, this is the ideal situation for you to be in because it opens up your diaphragm. It's almost like tripoding. It gives your body the best position to breathe as comfortably as possible. If you need to lie down, you can do that, but know that there's going to be some limitations with how you feel when you're doing that. So what Cole is going to do here is he's going to get up against a wall. He's turning his cylinder off all of the way, okay? Once he gets the cylinder turned off all of the way, he's barely going to crack that cylinder valve open, just enough to truly be able to sip the air out of that cylinder. He's going to take a breath. He's going to hold his breath, and as he's doing that, he's going to turn the cylinder back off. He's going to continue to open and close that cylinder as he breathes for as long as possible. Research has shown that this can extend an air supply at a quarter cylinder for 30 to upwards of an hour if you get really good at this. So if you can practice this, it will really help to conserve your air when you can no longer escape and you've decided to seek that area of refuge. So we're going to watch Cole do this just for a couple cycles here. Cole's doing a really good job of maintaining his cylinder. You don't want to activate the cylinder to the point to where the vibe alert goes off. You're going to be opening it just before that vibe alert goes off and closing it. That is essentially the peak position where the cylinder is either open or shut, and you're not sacrificing anything else within the system to do that. The other thing that's important to note here, if you look at Cole's position, is he does have his remote gauge here in place, and he can control his pass device if it is activated. In a real situation, the pass device would be going off if Cole is not currently communicating with command. So by having that remote pressure gauge in an area where he can control it, it'll allow him to continue with his radio transmissions if he needs to. If you are communicating on the radio, it's also important to open up that cylinder and not cut your air off, because you may end up cutting yourself off essentially during radio traffic and sucking the mask to your face. Okay, good job, Cole. First and foremost, I want to thank you for your time in viewing LFRA's task tip for the day. We've talked about a number of breathing techniques, from skip breathing to tactical breathing to the Riley breathing technique, and finally wheel breathing. Using a combination of these breathing techniques, or just one of them, just may be what you need to extend your air to be able to get you out of a situation if you find yourself in an SCBA emergency where you have low air. Thank you for your time.